Welcome to Keep What You Earn, your judgment and jargon-free zone for entrepreneurs of all levels. Get ready to learn how to scale your business, save money in taxes, and create a business that grows your wealth. If it feels like the financial side of business is like eating your vegetables, well, then think of this podcast as the ranch dressing to make the process a little more enjoyable. My name is Shannon Weinstein. I'm a CPA and business owner on a mission to simplify money and empower others through knowledge. I hope this episode inspires you to take action, but remember that the information we share is for educational purposes only and is not individual tax advice. Now that we got that out of the way, let's start the show. We all know that making more money in business is really a function of two key variables, one being sales and one being costs. And most of the time, we are really focused on that first number, which is your sales. And I wanted to dedicate a few episodes around this time to talk about how a lot of entrepreneurs are really struggling right now with sales and not just calling in the right people, getting their messaging right. We've talked about this in prior episodes, but also how to increase their revenue. And it feels like they're hustling so hard, trying to get new customers in the door and more people buying from them. And that's not the only way to increase your sales. And I wanted to really kind of go through the three ways I see that can increase your sales and which ones I prefer or which ones I think are more sustainable and lucrative for you and worth your time to spend effort and energy trying to implement. Let's go through a couple of notes here about sales. One is it is a massive science project. It's a lot of trial and error to figure out what works and what doesn't. So when you're looking at your sales and you're looking at who's buying, there are three key variables, I think, that go into how your sales are driven. And we're going to go through each of them today. I'm going to start with the first one, which is the most obvious thing you think of probably when you think I have to increase my sales. What do you assume you have to do? Most people assume that means I have to sell to more people. I need more people to buy. More people need to be buying my product, service, program, whatever it is. And you're not wrong in that more people buying increases sales. But I believe this is, of the three I'm going to lay out here, three variables to increase your sales, I think this is the least effective for a business. Because every time you sell a new customer, you have a new cost of acquisition. You're spending money on ads, you're spending money on marketing, you're spending money on PR, you're spending whatever it is. And you're spending money on the onboarding, and you're spending money and time and energy developing the relationship. Maybe you are going to meals with these people, maybe you are going to conferences, you're incurring costs to acquire new customers. And the more customers you think you need to acquire, the more you're going to be spending on these things. So next thing you know, you're acquiring a new customer at a certain price point, but you're only keeping a certain percentage of that because you're spending so much money to get them in the door in the first place. So your cost of acquisition is a very important consideration here. And especially for those of you using things like Facebook ads and paid ads, you are spending a ton of money just to get some eyeballs on your product or service. So even if your ad is like stellar, excellent, fantastic for attracting the right type of client, you're still going to be incurring a lot of expenses just to get that one client enrolled. So keep that in mind. So selling to more people and getting more people to buy includes a cost of acquisition. It also includes a cost of fulfillment, meaning you're going to have to pay time and money to onboard that client or to get them set up in your system or to get them subscribed to whatever they need or to just spend the time to get them from purchasing to completely implemented in whatever your product or service is. So keep that in mind as well, that you're going to be spending labor costs, for example. I mean, look at my business. As a fractional CFO, we go through like a rigorous 2-month onboarding with multiple phone calls with the client, trying to understand more about their business, deep dive, get into their goals, and get into their systems to really understand what's going on in the back end. And as we roll up our sleeves in this is costing us time and money and my labor costs and so on. So for me to bring on a new CFO client, it's actually quite expensive on the front end. And that's something we're willing to invest in order to create the long-term relationship. Now, for you, this could also be expensive, but you have to keep in mind, like, is it worth it? And is this the right way I want to gain new clients? So again, if you're selling more people into your service, product, or program, then now you're looking at client acquisition cost and cost of fulfillment. Now, the second variable, other than just more people buying, the cash register ringing more, is having the cash register ring multiple times for the same client. So, how many times does your client repeat buy? And this could either be in the form of some type of subscription. This could be in the form of some type of sequence that reminds them, like, let's say they have a perishable product, for example. There could be something where you're offering some type of support. How many times are they buying from you? And is there an upsell? Like, do you buy something and then there's accessories they can buy along with it? What are the ways that you can basically develop a revenue model that is recurring or recurring, where the same customer buys from you over and over again? And again, it doesn't have to be the same exact thing. It doesn't have to be a subscription. I'll use the example of, if you buy something, right? And then you also sell accessories that go with it, or expansion packs, or whatever it may look like. You're going to be able to sell over and over again and layer those things on. So, do you have a product or offer that coincides with some type of recurring or reoccurring revenue model where they can supplement the sales from the same customer? What you want to do is minimize, this is going to sound really silly coming out of my mouth, but you want to minimize the number of sales that are going through. So you want to minimize the number of sales decisions your customer has to make. So you would like your customer to buy from you once and make that commitment to buy from you over and over and over again with that initial decision. That if they're going to subscribe or have some type of membership option, that they have just committed to an auto pay cycle every single month for, perpetuity. And now you have recurring revenue from them, but they only had to make that decision once. Same thing if there's a client out there who buys, the core product or offer you have, and then they buy the expansions, the upsells, whatever it is later. Now you've just minimized the amount of decisions they have to make, because it's much easier for them to make these sales decisions when they already have proven results and they've seen how your offer helps them solve a problem. So it's a lot easier for them to buy. You do not need the cost of client acquisition in this case. You're really looking at the cost of fulfillment being the biggest thing. So how can we pay to fulfill this customer's need? So that is, I think, my second option of how I would choose to increase revenue. It doesn't necessarily cost you anything in the acquisition, but you definitely do have to market, create automations, things like that, and make sure your customer is satisfied. Your customer satisfaction will do the selling for you. And this is called, by the way, increasing your customer's lifetime value. So the first one we talked about was more customers. The second one is higher lifetime value of each customer. And the third one is going to be higher prices. Higher prices is a great way to increase your revenue. And I know this sounds so basic, but here's why raising your prices, I think, is the most effective way to increase your revenue. And it comes with a little bit of an asterisk to that as well. Now, it doesn't cost you anything more to have a new customer or to fulfill. Raising your prices does not raise your costs. Raising your prices also increases your margins. Raising your prices is the sustainable option to actually increase your revenue. Now, I don't believe in doing any one of these things in a vacuum. I mean, you should definitely do one thing at a time, but I think raising your prices is an element that you must have in conjunction with any of these other things. So raise your prices and sell more, raise your prices and create upsells. That is going to be a great combination. But why raising your prices is, in my opinion, the most effective, sustainable strategy for increasing revenue is because when you raise your prices, purely you have more margin coming in the door. There are no additional costs of acquisition, no additional costs of fulfillment. You are just straight up charging more money. Now, my asterisk to that is you have to make sure that the market you are selling to can tolerate that new price point. So you have to make sure that you are able to articulate the value of what you're doing. You are able to command that price. You are able to, quote unquote, justify it. Now, I believe you can charge whatever you want for whatever service you want, and there's a market out there who will buy it. But you've just got to make sure you're aligning your price with the audience, with the buyers, with the market, to make sure that you're not overshooting the market. But raising your prices in general is a great way to do that. Another way you can raise your prices covertly, right? Other than, let's say my service was 3,000 a month and now it's 4,000 a month. Well, one way you could do that, for example, is you could raise your prices to a certain level and then offer people discounts. You can articulate it in different ways. So you can say, well, my price is normally 4,000, but I'll give it to you for this. You don't want to artificially or unethically, articulate price, but you want to be careful about how you're raising prices and how you're sharing that with your existing customers, for example. So if you are raising your prices, what I recommend doing is communicating with existing customers who are in your old price point in a very, very professional and specific way that helps to reinforce the trust they have in you, and not just like increasing their invoices out of the blue. Like, of course, we don't do that. And I've unpacked that in another episode that we've done about how to raise your prices. But what I'm talking about when we say raise your prices is, I mean, like on your website or on the market, the next client that you sell, do it at a higher price point and reconfigure how you're expressing your value, because that is an interesting challenge to go through when you realize that you can command a higher price point and that there's really nothing stopping you but you when it comes to raising prices. It's, in my opinion, the best way to increase revenue without increasing costs and without increasing a crazy amount of marketing effort. I just think that you're going to have to make some tweaks to your marketing if you really want to significantly increase your prices. But, before you completely overhaul your offers, before you completely overhaul your marketing, just consider, am I charging enough to support the cost that I have to deliver this service or to acquire clients? And am I in the right position in the market? Am I charging a premium? Am I commanding a premium? Am I a loss leader? Like, what am I trying to accomplish here? And when you have a really, really clear idea of that strategy, that's where you really know where of these three areas you want to focus on in order to increase your revenue. So if you are struggling with increasing your revenue, struggling with marketing, with sales, again, we're talking a bit about this on this show in recent episodes, and I would love to hear your thoughts. Please, please jump into our community. We're on Circle, and there's a link in the show notes to jump into our listener community. I go live every single month. We do a live podcast recording, and we get to chat after with Q&A. This is your chance to get with me in private, ask your questions, and really get access to me that only my clients have. So if you're interested in join now for free using the link in the show notes. As you probably know, I've been building my own fractional CFO practice for the past few years, and I definitely didn't do it alone. As a firm owner, without community and mentorship, you can find yourself stuck, undercharging, overworked, and unhappy, wondering how to get yourself out of this rut. When we don't create intention behind our businesses, we end up creating a new job instead of the business that we actually dream of. So my mentor, Michael King, and his CFO Accelerator program were instrumental in evolving my brand and my firm into what it is today and what it will become. And he and his team are teaching their 7-step framework to building a profitable fractional CFO business you dream of with a client roster you love. I'll be there along with speakers, teachers, and other fractional CFOs. Join us May 16th through 18th in Dallas, Texas. You're not going to want to miss this opportunity to learn, connect, and be inspired. Even better, Michael is offering a special discount for Keep What You Earn listeners. Check out the link in the show notes for more information. Thank you so much for listening. If you enjoyed this episode, please leave a rating and review on your podcast platform. This small action goes a long way for podcasters to get our message heard by more business owners just like you. Be sure to check out the show notes for links to information about our guests and ways to get in touch with me. We'll see you on the next episode.